Welcome to the Grad-Centric Podcast. Today we're going to talk about the research paper. Most high school curriculums have a research paper curriculum built in so that by the time you've graduated from high school, you have some experience in the research paper. But I've found that most students are ill prepared to write at the college level, and a big piece of writing at the college level is research and the research paper. So we're going to talk about the research paper a little bit in this episode and also just dissect some of the more important aspects of churning out a research paper for one of your classes in college. Now, the core of a research paper is the thesis, and the thesis is what your paper is all about. So when students start to plan and prepare for a research paper, which by the way, you need to plan ahead on your research papers. A lot of times your classes will say there's a big research paper coming down 8 weeks down in the semester or 16 weeks down in the semester at the end of the term, and you need to plan and prepare ahead. So the first thing that you can do that doesn't take a lot of effort is build some type of thesis. What do you want your paper to be about? What's the main argument that you're trying to propose, either to your professor or some type of audience? So the thesis is where you start. Then when you build that thesis, you can go and move on to outlining your paper. And I specifically like, at this point in the process, going and visiting the library and starting to compile different research citations around whatever your thesis is. So let's say your thesis is that a certain medication will cure cancer. So then you can go and start looking at some medical journals, and you can start looking at some type of search tool that the library might have when it comes to journal articles. A lot of different things that you can do at this point. There's probably some books that are relatable when it comes to what's on the stacks in your library, all sorts of different things here. You might even go out and interview people and do some primary research in the topic. So that's what I would say, go to the library at that point. And let me just kind of say at this point as well, many students don't know the powerful tools that a lot of libraries have when it comes to the college research experience. And this is particularly true if you're going to a larger state school or a research-oriented institution. These libraries are spending millions of dollars every year in access to online databases and tools that you can use for research. So please don't try to do it alone or just Google search or just look at the footnotes in your Wikipedia article. Visit the library and see what they have available to you. And most librarians, by the way, are very happy to help you through this process and to make sure that you're using the right resources. So don't hesitate to either go face-to-face and ask a librarian to help you through this process, or use a lot of libraries have chat with a librarian features on their website, and you can do it through some type of digital media if you'd rather do it that way. So the thesis, then we go to outlines. Now, how should you outline? So let's say you've read through a bunch of books and journal articles and you're trying to put together some type of outline for your paper. What I would suggest is to get some note cards. So every time you read through and find a source that you think would be applicable to your final paper, go ahead and write on the front part of the note card what you thought was interesting, flip it over, put the citation on the back, and then you can use that throughout your outline. And you could literally put these on your residence hall, the floor of the room in your residence hall, and start to piece together your paper that way. So it seems to be kind of a pretty free-flowing way to attack a research paper that I think is helpful. One other thing that I see students struggle with when it comes to the research paper is we start with the thesis and then we have to write the paper, of course. But most students don't really think through the logical progression of thought throughout the paper. They just try to write as quickly as they can to get all this information out on one page and then to wrap it up and turn in the paper. That's probably high school level when it comes to writing a research paper, not college level. So if you want to write at the college level, you have to think through logically. Okay, here is my thesis, and then each paragraph that I'm writing is supposed to defend and bolster that thesis statement. So you've got maybe paragraph 1, it's going to cover a topic and it's really going to bolster what you're trying to say with the thesis topic, and you keep going on and on. And then the introduction is to introduce all of those different arguments. The conclusion is really to summarize everything that you've put in the paper. And regardless of what you've been trained at the high school level, the outline is probably pretty simple. So we tend to start with the title of the paper, and then we go to the introduction, which has the thesis statement. Then you have supporting paragraphs, and then we end with a conclusion. Now, your professor might give you a different outline that you need to use that doesn't fit that framework, but that's the basic framework that you're working with. So if you have a 20-page paper, a 30-page paper, you're probably just adding more paragraphs that are going to support your thesis. But the basic understanding and outline of what that research paper looks like will hold true. There's a few other helpful tips and tricks that I've put in the blog post at gradmetrics.com that's attached to this specific episode, but that's a good overview of what you need to do to start writing at a college level and to tackle a research paper.